You're lying awake at 2 a.m. again, not because you can't sleep, but because the numbers won't stop running through your mind. The retirement account that should be growing isn't. The bills that keep coming don't stop. And that dream you had of slowing down, of finally resting, of not worrying about money anymore, feels further away than ever. Maybe you're 45, maybe you're 55, maybe you're 62 and realizing you can't afford to retire. And the worst part? You feel like you did something wrong, like you missed some secret everyone else knew, like maybe God forgot about you. If that's where you are right now, I want you to know something. You're not alone, and God hasn't forgotten you. In fact, there's a Bible verse that speaks directly to this exact moment, to the fear, the uncertainty, the exhaustion of wondering if you'll ever have enough. The verse is Philippians 4:19, and it says this, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus." Now, I know what you might be thinking. That sounds nice, but my needs aren't being met. I don't have enough saved, I'm behind, I'm scared. I get it, but here's why this verse matters right now in your life in this exact season. Because Paul, the man who wrote these words, wasn't sitting in a mansion when he said them. He was in prison. He had no income, no retirement plan, no 401k, no social security. And yet he wrote these words with absolute confidence, not because his circumstances were perfect, but because he knew who was in control. Let's break this verse down together. And my God. Notice Paul doesn't say a God or the universe or good vibes. He says, my God. This is personal, intimate, relational. The God who created the stars, who holds the oceans in His hands. That same God knows your name. He knows your bank balance. He knows what keeps you up at night. And Paul is reminding us, this God is my God, and He can be your God too. Will meet all your needs. Now this is important. Paul doesn't say God will meet all your wants. He says your needs. And yes, that includes financial needs, shelter, food, security, medical care, the ability to live with dignity. But here's what's so comforting. God knows the difference between what we think we need and what we actually need. Sometimes we're terrified we won't have enough, and God gently reminds us, I've never let you go hungry. I've never left you without shelter, and I'm not starting now. According to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus. Now this is the part that changes everything. God doesn't provide according to your bank account. He doesn't provide according to the economy. He doesn't provide according to how much you saved in your 30s. He provides according to the riches of His glory. And friend, His resources are unlimited. C.S. Lewis once said something powerful. He said, God cannot give us happiness and peace apart from Himself, because it is not there. There is no such thing. What does that have to do with money and retirement? Everything. Because we've been taught that peace comes from having enough saved, enough invested, enough cushion. But the Bible flips that upside down. Peace doesn't come from the size of your retirement account. It comes from knowing the one who owns everything. Martin Luther during the Reformation faced incredible financial insecurity. The church he challenged had all the money and power. He had nothing. But he wrote, God does not need your good works, but your neighbor does. In other words, God isn't stressed about your bank account. He's got that covered. What He cares about is your heart, your trust, your willingness to believe He's still good, even when the money's tight. Augustine said it this way, God provides the wind, but man must raise the sails. God will provide, but we also have a role to trust Him, to steward what we do have wisely, and to keep moving forward in faith, not fear. Let's get really practical for a moment. You're 52, You look at your retirement account and it's not where the financial advisors said it should be. Maybe you went through a divorce. Maybe you had medical bills. Maybe you helped your kids when they were struggling. Maybe the market crashed. Maybe you just didn't know. And now you're wondering, will I have to work until I'm 80? Will I ever rest? Here's what Philippians 4:19 is saying to you. God's provision isn't on your timeline, it's on His, and His timeline is always perfect. Maybe retirement at 65 isn't your story. Maybe it's 70. Maybe it looks different than you thought. But that doesn't mean God has failed you. It means your story is unfolding exactly the way He designed it. I've talked to people in their 60s who said, "I thought I'd be retired by now, but honestly, I found a job I love. I found purpose. I found community." I've talked to people who retired early and felt lost. I've talked to people who worked into their 70s and said, "These were some of the best years of my life." God's provision doesn't always look like what we expected, but it's always exactly what we need. If you're finding encouragement in this message, would you do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button. It helps this video reach others who need to hear it. And drop a comment below, especially if you need prayer for your financial situation. I read every single one, and I lift you up. Let's also look at Matthew 6:33 through 34, because Jesus speaks directly to financial worry. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Notice what Jesus says, do not worry about tomorrow. Not don't plan, not don't save, not don't be wise, but don't worry. There's a difference between responsible planning and anxiety-driven obsession. You can check your bank account without letting it control your peace. I know some of you are thinking, but I should have saved more, I made mistakes. Maybe you did. We all have. But God's grace doesn't run out when your savings do. His mercy isn't limited by your past choices, and His provision doesn't depend on you being perfect. It depends on Him being faithful, and He always is. John Calvin once said, "We are nowhere forbidden to laugh or to be satisfied with food or to be delighted with music or to drink wine." In other words, God isn't a harsh taskmaster waiting to punish you for not having enough saved. He's a loving Father who wants you to live with joy, dignity, and peace even in the middle of financial uncertainty. You can make a budget without letting fear make your decisions. You can prepare for the future without letting the future steal your today. Jesus is saying, do what you can, trust me with the rest. And friend, that's where freedom lives. Not in having $1 million saved, but in knowing the God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the God who fed 5,000 people with a kid's lunch, the God who provided manna in the desert every single day. That God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and He sees you. So what do you do today? Here's my encouragement. Acknowledge the fear. Don't bury it. Don't pretend you're fine. Bring it to God. Say, I'm scared. I don't know how this is going to work out. He can handle your honesty. Take one small step. Maybe that's updating your budget. Maybe it's meeting with a financial counselor. Maybe it's applying for a part-time job. You don't have to fix everything today. Just take one step. Remind yourself daily, God is still God. Write Philippians 4:19 on a sticky note. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Speak it out loud. My God will meet all my needs according to the riches of His glory. Let that truth sink deeper than the fear. Friend, I want you to hear this. Your current financial situation is not your final destination. You are not stuck. You are not forgotten. You are not too old, too behind, or too broken for God to work in your life. He has provided for you every single day of your life so far, and He's not going to stop now. Maybe your retirement won't look like the magazine pictures. Maybe it'll be smaller, quieter, different. But it will be yours, and it will be held in the hands of a God who loves you more than you can imagine. So take a deep breath. Let go of the shame. Let go of the comparison. Let go of the fear that whispers, "You'll never have enough." Because the truth is, you already have enough. You have a God who sees you, a God who knows you, a God who will meet every single need according to the riches of His glory. And that, my friend, is more than enough. Trust Him. He's got you. And your story? It's not over. It's just beginning.